In this corner, the 2007 Terry Dodson Wonder Woman from Who is Wonder Woman. In this corner, the 2009 Justice League of America box set Wonder Woman. And in this corner, the 2011 Wonder Woman from Justice League Classic Icons. Before tackling the new classic Wonder Woman figure by DC Multiverse, today we're taking a look at 3 of the most highly sought after DC Direct Wonder Women to figure out which is the best Diana for your dinero. Are there other classic style DC Direct Wonder Woman figures? Sure, but these 3 are considered the best, so we're gonna see which one is the best of the best. Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I discuss are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and if you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube rigmarole. Starting with the packaging, and we have a bit of variety. The 2007 figure comes in a blister card. This, of course, is Wonder Woman from Wonder Woman Series 1. As was often the case with DC Direct, there was no Series 2. This lovely artwork comes from Who is Wonder Woman by Terry Dodson, and as you can see, mine was damaged, which was the only reason I was able to afford it. In fact, Who is Wonder Woman was the basis for the entire assortment. Other figures included Agent Diana Prince, Donna Troy as Wonder Woman, and Cersei. It's also the same artwork for the new DC Multiverse Wonder Woman. That, of course, is a conversation for another day. As for the 2009 version, that's a box set, specifically dedicated to the Justice League of America, specifically based on Justice League of America #1 by Brad Meltzer and Ed Benes. On the sides are some comparison images between the figures and the comic art. Admittedly, some characters fare worse in that department than others, but the benefit is that this is a collector-friendly, reusable box. Lastly, Justice League Icons is a blister card as well. There is a nice crooked sticker to let us know it's Wonder Woman, and once again it suggests a possible Series 2 which never came. Similar to the box set, the other figures in the wave include Superman, Green Lantern, and Batman, and similar to the box set, it has some artwork to compare it to. I love how the Dodson one is a greater celebration of Wonder Woman herself, but form must follow function, so for packaging, this round goes to the box set. Moving on to presentation, and shortest to tallest, box set is 6.5, Who is Wonder Woman is 6 3/4, and Classic Icons is 7. Of the 3, Who is Wonder Woman is the only original sculpt, and as I said in the last category, it's based on the artwork of Terry Dodson. As such, this is often just called the Dodson Wonder Woman. The box set version is the same body as Justice League of America, which was released earlier that year, this time with a new head. Truth be told, I never cared for that face. In general, I just think this one's a lot more aesthetically pleasing. The only issue is that this head is stuck looking down and left. As we'll see in the next category, there isn't really much turn there. DC Classic Icons has a similar issue. Between the tilt of the head and the eyes, she just really isn't looking at you, and again, there's nothing you can do about it. Based on her middle distance, 1,000-yard stare, I'm pretty sure her archenemy is existential dread. Even though this was the last of the 3 to be released, the body is actually the oldest. It was originally used in 2006 for an Alex Ross Wonder Woman based on her appearance in Justice. Although there are minor differences in the costume from figure to figure, the biggest difference is the color. Again, the box set is much brighter and almost harkens back to superpowers, and the stars are larger and used more sparingly. I also like how this one has a golden sheen instead of just being a straight Crayola yellow. Additionally, you do get some panel lines and wrinkles in the corset. Classic Icons and Dodson are a bit more muted. On the Dodson, the gold is more gold, whereas Classic Icons is almost brass and has that taller, more 90s style belt. Dodson is more covered in stars. Classic Icons, however, is less covered in general. This is probably a good opportunity to talk about their different body types. Classic Icons is the most muscular of the 3. I mean, seriously, Chun-Li would be jealous of these legs. That said, the box set's less curvy, but still fairly athletic, with Dodson falling somewhere in between. Another thing that separates them are the skin tones. Box set and Dodson have painted skin, whereas Classic Icons was cast in flesh tone plastic. As such, he looks more natural and more compatible with modern figures. One thing that some collectors don't like about Dodson is that she's more pre-posed, whereas the other 2 are more neutral. As we'll see in the next category, though, the articulation on these is really limited, so for me, having the sculpt be a bit more posed is a feature, not a bug. More than any other category, this one's going to come down more to personal preference. There are things about all of them I like, but there are also things about them I don't. Personally, I prefer Dodson, but given the strengths of each figure, for presentation, I'm calling this round a draw. Moving on to posability, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kinda dreading this category. Mainly because of how notoriously fragile quintessential old-school DC Direct figures can be. First things first, all three of their heads are on ball joints, but Who is Wonder Woman is the only one that gets any kind of side-to-side. Moving on down, and Dodson and box set have ball-jointed shoulders that can raise this high. Classic Icons, on the other hand, might be the most recent figure, but being the oldest body, only has swivel shoulders. So this is all you're gonna get out of her. Moving down, none of them have any kind of bicep swivel or anything like that. They also have single-jointed elbows, with Dodson being the only one that comes even close to 90 degrees. That said, at the very least, all three of them do get wrist swivel. Moving to the middle, and none of our Dianas have any kind of torso articulation, and all of them have swivel hips. Dodson and box set can kick this high, whereas classic Icons can only kick this high. Lastly, each lady has single-jointed hinge knees. Dodson bends deepest, followed by box set, and then classic Icons. What they really need is ankle articulation. Even just a hinge would have really gone a long way. None of these figures have what we would consider good articulation, but all of them were pretty standard for the time. Again, I'm just happy none of them broke. Of the three, classic Icons had the worst articulation, but while these two had the same joints, one Wonder Woman definitely had the better range. For Posability, this round goes to Dodson. Moving on to Playability, and the accessory section should be short because, well, they all came with the same ones. Each Wonder Woman has a coiled up lasso and a figure stand, and they're very similar to what comes with DC Multiverse, just a little bit smaller. Who is Wonder Woman, however, gets a much larger, fancier figure stand, with the logo very nicely painted on. With your blessing, I'm not going to uncoil these lassos because, well, I know if I do I'll never get them together again. Classic Icons and box set have hooks on their belts to hang them from. Dodson, however, does not. Instead, she's stuck carrying hers around. The funny thing is that Classic Icons has two fists, so even if I unraveled it, she couldn't hold it anyway. That said, box set also benefits from having a comic. Of course, Playability is more than just comic books and embroidery thread. It's also about how well your figures play with others. Starting with Batman, and here we have a couple of blue and gray versions. The one with the shadow around his face is from the same box set as this Wonder Woman. The other one is DC Multiverse Nightfall. For a couple of other blue and gray Batman though, and here we have DC Direct and NECA. I chose these two for their similarly muted colors. The DC Direct doubles as Dr. Hugo Strange. For two more blue and grays, and here's a couple of versions of Hush. I was curious how Mattel figures would scale with this one, and honestly, not bad. The McFarlane figure is too tall for anybody, but this one matches up pretty well too. Lastly, for Batman, and here we have a couple of black and grays. Again, I was curious about scaling with DC Universe Classics. Fortunately for this Wonder Woman, Three Jokers Batman is a little bit shorter. From the Cape Crusader to the Man of Steel, and here we have a couple of versions of Superman. The DC Direct one is the single-carded edition of the version from the box set. Alas, DC Classic Icons is clearly too big for either. Next up, and here's a couple from DC Direct. We previously looked at the John Byrne version, my 7-inch Superman Versus. Unfortunately, History of the DC Universe is a bit back-heavy and needs some assistance standing. Next up is NECA and DC Essentials. Although we did get a DC Rebirth in Essentials, we never did get a Classic, and I'd have been very interested in seeing what NECA could have done with her. And then for just a couple of more Kal-Els, and here we have the DC Multiverse Hush and Action Comics 1000. Obviously the box set version's too small, but in the absence of a McFarlane version, this is a pretty good fit. Since he's in the box set, I thought I'd also include Green Lantern. The other Hal is by NECA. Hopefully McFarlane has a good classic version of him on the way. For one final Justice League comparison, and here we have the Flash. Off the top of my head I forget, but I think that the DC Direct one is also from a JLA line, and then the McFarlane one is from Flashpoint. For a relative scale comparison, here are all three of our Wonder Women with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man. And as always, here they are with Stealth Iron Man. The golden lariat of Hestia compels you to tell the truth. Whatever you say will be held against you. You promise? If your collection leans closer to 6-inch scale, then the box set is the gal for you. And hey, articulation aside, she looks a heck of a lot better than DC Universe Classics. At the other extreme, if you prefer your Justice League to skew larger, Classic Icons is definitely your best bet. That said, if you, like me, want a Wonder Woman who can stand with your 7-inch scale figures as well as fudge into your larger 6-inch ones, Who is Wonder Wonder Woman is the Wonder Woman for you. In terms of accessories, lest we forget that the box set version has a comic, she's also included with 3 other figures, and is the only one of the 3 that can both hold and wear her lasso. For playability, this round goes to box set. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. I named the Terry Dodson Wonder Woman my #1 white whale in a top 10 video. Only a week later, I managed to get a hold of her at a comic convention for only $10. On eBay, however, she regularly goes for $100. Of the 3, the box set is the most elusive. I have never seen her available loose, and the box set always goes for at least $200. Classic Icons, however, usually clocks in around $50. Granted, at $200 for the box set, that technically makes this Wonder Woman $50, but it's only worth it if you want the other figures that come along with her, and that's assuming you can find it at all. For price, this round goes to Classic Icons, but the battle goes to the box set, 3 to 2 to 2. Agree? Disagree? Sound off in the comments to let me know your favorite, and come back soon as we celebrate the arrival of the long-awaited DC Multiverse version. If you like this video, check out one of these. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.